If you're looking to have a 360 video made, there are some questions you should ask your content producer in the first conversation you have with them. We're going to learn what those questions are and the value behind them right now. In part 3, what to ask. The most important thing you can do as you prepare for your 360 video project is to educate yourself about the process, which is what you're doing right now. The next most important thing is to find the most competent person in your area or who is accessible to you who can shoot and edit your video. There are many factors that go into determining whether or not a producer is a good match for your project. The most important factors being experience, dependability, availability, and price. What a 360 video producer has actually done is the best indication of the kind of work they're going to do for you. Definitely check out their reel, ask to see a portfolio, their personal website. Make sure that the kind of content that they've created matches some of the vision that you're actually seeing for your project. There are way more 360 producers today than there were even a year ago or 2 years ago. And it's worth you taking the time to evaluate which ones are really shooting the type of content that you want to see in your video. Just the ability to turn on cameras and actually pull together a stitched piece of footage is not necessarily the one qualifier of someone being able to create the kind of content that you want in the end. Just like traditional video, a really good shooter for your style of video is going to do a better job than someone who is just using the same technology for a different application. There's always a certain degree of potential for errors in even some of the most professionally shot 360 video content. There's a synchronization between the two cameras and how action or subjects move between those cameras that can kind of affect how clean and perfect it looks. Where there should not be errors is sloppy work in the seams that's so different from where it's supposed to be matched that it's distracting to the audience. Also, look for synchronization errors, where one piece of footage is moving independently of the other. That's just really unprofessional. There's no good reason, short of a very specialized shot like a time lapse or something that may allow for one little moment when that's there. Otherwise, it should be perfectly synchronized. But look for quality all the way across, and look for how they utilize the technology to tell the story, to tell it cleanly, to have the audience's attention directed in the right place, to have it look as professional and polished as possible. You should be looking at videos that obviously are 360, but still give off an impression of a really finished, polished piece that was well thought out and well organized in the end. Capturing footage of a live scene where there's just random action in it, and capturing content with live actors in the shot, those are two very distinct things. Make sure that your 360 content producer has worked with talent on camera in terms of positioning, blocking shots, knowing exactly where people should stand based on the perspective of each camera. Make sure they have that experience and can show you that type of footage if that is something that's required for your project. There's a major distinction there, and it's probably one of the most complex parts of 360 production, is being able to place the cameras in a way where it captures all of the action you want in the shot with little to no disruption of the main subject between the scenes of each camera. After the considerations of synchronization and stitching are taken out of the way, you're right back into the realm of traditional video editing. And the quality of the color in each shot, the timing of the shots, how the whole story feels, that all starts to replicate what you would traditionally evaluate inside of a standard flat video project. What kind of cameras should be showing up with your 360 producer on set? Well, there are big distinctions between the different types of systems available. And typically there's kind of a high end, a mid-level, and low end. And I'm going to go over each one really quickly here. For the most part, I wouldn't go with any 360 video producer who shows up with a little do-it-yourself camera. This is the low end. This is the 4K max capable single lens or dual lens camera that just takes 4K video only, and that's it. Unless it's a very specialized shot that requires that size of camera, or some kind of action in the shot with movement that requires it to be that small, maybe it's a drone, maybe it's something else. Unless there's a very specific reason why that particular size or type of camera is being used as a creative choice, I would really hold back from having that be the only system someone's shooting with. Typically, regardless of the type of camera system, there should be several cameras available. You've got issues like cameras failing, like being able to capture really important shots from multiple angles. You know, things that save time, money, and the effort of having to redo shots. Having a backup system, several different systems to choose from, is extremely important. Are they familiar with your industry? This is a good question to ask because it's more about their reaction than it is about them knowing a whole lot about your specific industry. Make sure your content producer cares about how they're going to treat your project differently than they'll treat like the last car commercial that they shot or the last documentary they did on deforestation of the rainforest. Make sure that whatever your subject matter is that you're asking them to capture, that they can take into consideration how to treat it differently. Don't go with someone who reacts to you saying, you know what, it's all pretty much the same. For the most part, you turn these cameras on and you're going to capture all the same content. That is not true. And the considerations that you make when you're lining up the shots and when you're treating this content in post-production a certain way, telling the story a certain way, those distinctions can be pretty extreme. And you want to make sure that your story is being told about the kind of content you want to capture. I digress. But it's an important one. It sounds subtle, but it's really important. Make sure your content producer cares about what you were trying to create. How much should it cost? All right, don't be afraid to ask your content producer how much this project should cost based on what you've described to them, or even a general ballpark idea of what the pricing is for 360 video projects. We're used to tire kickers, people who just want to know generally what the price is from about 6 or 7 different companies. I would rather answer this question for people within 10 minutes on the phone than I would after I've written up a professional quote and sent it to them via email and waited 3 days to hear back. Make sure that you're filling in all the details. If there are certain requirements in terms of the types of shots or complexities in the post-production or example videos that look like what you want to accomplish, provide those because that's going to help the person come up with a better number. Generally speaking, the biggest factors affecting your price are going to be total number of shoot days, the equipment used, the complexity of the shots, and the complexity of post-production. The complexity of some of your shoots can affect how many people have to be available, type of equipment that's available, etc. So that's good stuff to get out of the way right away and be really clear about with your producer. Half of the project is typically asked for upfront to ensure that everybody has a vested interest in all of the effort that goes into organizing and setting up travel and everything else for your project. Typically, in my experience and all the professionals that I speak to, travel costs are covered by the client. Production costs for major productions and smaller productions is always kind of the Wild West, and there are a lot of variables that go into it. Communicate everything you can to your content producer. Tell them everything that you know about when you expect your project to be ready, how exactly you want it to look, and find somebody with integrity who you can trust and pay them what they're worth.